Billy.
Let's continue then to get more reaction from South African Democratic Teachers Union General Secretary Mr. Mugwena Maluleke. Always a pleasure to see you, sir. Thank you very much for joining us here on SABC News.
Good afternoon, Flo, and good afternoon to your viewers at home, and thank you for the opportunity. We really appreciate that.
You're most welcome. Just as a start, I mean, we're hearing quite a few stories about the fact that schools weren't indeed able to adhere to some of, the rules or measures that were put in place that we had been told would be able to be put in place. I mean, among other measures, schools were instructed that there has to be physical distance of at least 1.5 meters to accommodate the return of learners. This is not viable, and most schools were not in fact able to do that. And I was talking to Basil Manuel just before I spoke to you, and we're talking about how some learners were in fact even saying that these classes are far too small, there's overcrowding, there's no social distancing, so we can't adhere to COVID-19 protocols as we'd been promised. What's your reaction this afternoon?
Thank you for the question indeed. Our learners were very excited to be coming back to school. However, it became a very depressive day today because when you look into Mpumalanga, which has said that they are ready to accommodate all the learners and therefore they will also comply with the protocols, including the 1 meter social distance inside as directed by the Department of COGTA, as well as the directions that was published by the Department of Education on the 1st of August. That did not happen. The classes were packed, and that in itself, that is in contravention of his own direction and the Disaster Management Act, and also the direction that was published by the Department of Employment and Labor. We believe that there is serious violation because I think that department, we made them aware on Friday and on Saturday when we met with them. When we were making our submission, we made it very clear that it would be better if there is a date that is a little bit far further so that they address all this particular problem rather than to really be married to a date when they know very well that they are not ready. And I must indicate that it is unfortunate that the department at the level of the provinces, they present these good green project management plans and so forth, whereas on the ground is something else. I mean, even in Gauteng was better because they have made it clear that they will follow differentiated timetabling in the schools that cannot be able to accommodate social distancing. However, the principals themselves were intimidated by the department officials, despite the fact that they have been given an assurance that they should really deviate and be able to accommodate the timetables that they were using in order to avoid this particular overcrowding. And then they did that. And clearly this cannot be accepted because at the end of the day, whilst we are worried about the perpetuation of the inequalities where, schools that have got the space will be able to progress. However, it is important that we put the safety and the health and the lives of the teachers and the lives of the parents and the grandparents at home first, because that what we see today is so depressing for me. What I saw in the schools today is depressing, and that has to be reversed with immediate effect because we cannot afford to see that.
And what suggestions, are you putting forward in terms of, having these issues then addressed? I know that teacher unions like yourselves had said that, school pupils do certainly need to return to something like, to some normalcy, a daily timetable of some sorts, because they have fallen behind in the curriculum. And one wonders, in terms of balancing the issue of, keeping up with the curriculum and indeed catching up on the one hand, but also then, we are in the middle of this pandemic. So, what are the suggestions that perhaps you're putting forward to the department? And it seems the department itself is, just as concerned as all of us. I heard the comment there that they were saying they hope not to have to close again. It just seems as though, where the problem should be addressed is where they're also saying, look, we have a problem here.
Well, some departments acknowledge that they have a problem. Like the Department of Northern Cape has really put a case, and the case was very clear. We understood that particular case, that they will look at the cases, and as the cases are going down, they will then begin to address some of the problems that were there. The problem we have is those departments that have said that they are 100% ready, when in actual fact they were not ready. So the suggestions that we have made and in writing to them since last week were very simple. Make sure that there's a availability of extra mobile classes as you have promised since last year that you would do so. So we had a year to making sure that those particular mobile classes are there. Yeah. They have said to us in black and white that they are going to be requesting some institutions that are closer to the school to accommodate them, including the churches, and therefore be able to provide additional teachers in the form of temporary teachers, or those teachers who are in access, they will be deployed into those particular areas to teach. That was one of the alternatives that they said it's workable, and therefore it is within the financial resources that they have, and they will implement that. These are the things that we have been talking about. We have submitted those things, and then Flo, you remember very well, we have said we need an injection of finances in education from the national government, because we knew that Northern Cape will not be able to afford that. KZN will not be able to afford that, because they're predominantly Northern Cape, whilst not a rural area, is vast, and therefore it needs resources. So we have always been saying to the president and the country, please make sure that education is prioritized, so that we're then able to avoid a situation where the schools can become super spreaders, and we don't want that, because these learners are not coming from heaven. They're not coming from an ocean. They come from parents who have got grandparents at the end of the day. And it's known now scientifically that they can also transmit. And therefore, we do not want to see South Africa regressing and so forth. So let's make sure, comply with all the protocols so that we are safe. The unions are not against the learners coming back to the school, because we know that we are facing a generational catastrophe here, that the learners might have missed a lot of competencies and skills. However, it cannot be done at the expense of the lives that we must save.
Mr. Maluleke, a pleasure speaking to you. Thank you very much. And I do hope indeed that we find some sort of resolution to some of the issues that we saw today. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, that is Mr. Mugwena Maluleke, who's the General Secretary of SADTU. Well,